Hi everyone. So this time I'm going to talk about the body fat, lean body mass, bone density, these factors. So we had been doing different sessions with different teams in last 2 weeks. So the best way to explain this is to take up the questions, because that was a question and answer session. So I'll take up the questions one by one so that I can explain and cover up the topic from the client's point of view. Okay, so one of the clients, she's Pooja, she asked that please explain the lean body mass and what is it, why it's important for us. So lean body mass, so lean itself says that your body mass that comes under the lean category. Okay, so there are four basic factors that we need to understand. One is your body muscles, second is your bone density that makes up your body composition, third is your body fluid, and fourth comes the body fat. So some of the fat is essential fat, different for males and females. Some of the fat is non-essential fat that we really need to get rid of. Okay, so muscles, bone density, body fluid, and body fat. So if we take out the body fat from these four factors, so these three factors together makes up your lean body mass. That means your total weight minus your body fat, because your total weight comprises of muscles, fluid, bone density, and body fat. So that is lean body mass. Why it's important for us is it's important for us to maintain a normal body fat because of a number of reasons. So one reason of carrying lean body mass is that it will enhance your oxygen utilizing capacity, that will improve your cardiac health. So for example, when you breathe in oxygen, your oxygen is equally distributed to your muscles and fat. Your oxygen will not see that this is fat, I'll not go there, and this is muscles, I'll go only there. So if your body is having muscles in a ample quantity and fat in the essential quantity, then what will happen is your muscles will be able to utilize good amount of oxygen. But if your fat is higher and your muscle mass is low, then what will happen is the oxygen that will go to fat, that remains unutilized, because fat is not able to utilize the oxygen. So that will reduce your oxygen utilizing capacity, and that will reduce your cardiac health. So if your muscle mass is good and if your body fat is low means the essential quantity, then what will happen is your oxygen that you are inhaling, you are able to utilize it in a better way, and then your cardiac health will improve because your heart is getting good supply of oxygen, and then your heart will be able to supply oxygen and blood in a good flow to all the body organs and the systems. So that is one reason that you really need to maintain a good lean body mass. And yeah, of course, if you want to get into the scale more and you want to keep a watch on your weight, then you really need to understand that you are carrying a healthy weight. You are not carrying unhealthy weight. So even if you are 50 kg of weight or 55 kg of weight, but if your body fat is higher and your muscle mass is low, your bone density is low, your body water is low, then you are actually under a unhealthy body composition, where you really need to cut down on the fat and bring up the bone density, fluid, and muscle mass. So if you carry a lean body mass, then you are carrying a healthy body composition that will eventually result in a good cardiac health. That is the reason of carrying lean body. The second question asked by Rahul was how to manage our body water. How to manage our body water? And secondly, he asked that what about people who consume 5 to 8 liters of water just for the weight loss? Okay, so how to manage body water? See, to manage the body water, the body fluid in fact, not body water, body fluid, it's important to consume raw food like fruits and vegetables, because the vegetables that are composed of largely of water, not like peas or potato, because they have starch in it. Okay, so most of the green vegetables are high in water. Then fruits are also high in water. So when you consume the raw fruits and vegetables, that is salad, cucumber or carrots, these kind of food, and include more vegetables in your diet, then you are automatically improvising your water level. At the same time, in order to achieve a good cardiac health and at the same time achieve a good body water, you need to include 2 to 3 liters of water in a day. So that both of these together will work towards your body fluid, because body water is made up of fluid. So fluid that will come from the raw food, that is fruits and vegetables and salads, and the plain water. Okay, so plain water is also important because it will give you hydration. It is also important for your cardiac health. So you can't only rely on the fruits and vegetables, that okay, I will have only half liter, 1 liter of water in a day, and then rest of the things I can achieve through fruits and vegetables. No, you need water also, because water will work on n number of other things also. It will give you a good joint mobility, it will give you a good cardiac health, because water gives oxygen also. So oxygen will flow to the heart. So that is why plain water is important. So yeah, about the people who consume 5 to 8 liter, end up having 5 to 8 to 10 liters of water in a day, just in order to, just for the sake of losing body fat. I myself do not think that's healthy process, because that will flush out all the sodium from your system, and then that will help result into the loss of lot of electrolytes from the body. So you should have only that's important. So 2 to 3 liters for regular male and female. If you are an athlete, you may go till 4 liters. When you are training intense, then you may go till 4 liters. Otherwise 3 liters is fine, and rest you should achieve through fruits and vegetables and salads. Now the third question is how to sustain body fat, and how is it important in our workout and day-to-day life, lungs health and etc. Asked by Nadira. So see, I just explained that when we inhale oxygen, the oxygen is equally distributed to our muscles and body fat. So if our body composition is such, if we talk about muscles and fat, leaving aside bone and bone density and fluid, if we consider only muscles and fat, so if your fat is high and your muscles are low, even if you are under a low scale, 55 or 50 kg of weight, but if your fat is high, so what will happen is you are inhaling oxygen, you are giving oxygen to your lungs. So in that case your muscles is not getting that much of oxygen. So because the oxygen is going towards the fat also, your body is high in fat, so it will go towards the fat also. In fact, it will not utilize the oxygen. So in that case your lung capacity will also reduce, because you are inhaling oxygen and you are not able to utilize it. At the same time, it will impact your cardiac health also, like I explained in the first question. How to sustain the body fat? This is really important, that if you have achieved a certain level of fat, right, so how to sustain that, and then you really need to understand that how have you achieved that. Is the process really harsh? Is the process a sort of alien that is not part of your lifestyle? If the process is something that you have done through overtraining, then in that case you will not be able to sustain your body fat, because what will happen is something that you cannot sustain, be it very harsh training, be it very harsh diet, or be it any other format that is not part of your lifestyle, then you will not be able to sustain it. You may lose it because you have done it a little harder, that is not part of your lifestyle. So how to sustain your body fat is to adapt adapt a workout and lifestyle pattern that you can sustain. Eat food that comes from your kitchen. Train only 40 to 45 minutes in a day, because that is something you can sustain. If you will start overtraining, you may get sudden body fat loss, but what will happen is you can't continue doing that. So if you can't continue doing that, what will happen is once you stop doing that, your body fat will go up double. Okay, and at the same time it will impact with the high training, overtraining, your cortisol hormones will also go up. That will impact your hormonal balancing. Okay, so we are talking about how to sustain body fat. To sustain anything, you really need to adapt the format that you can include in your lifestyle. Like you can do it as part of your lifestyle, not as something that is alien. No overtraining, no harsh diet, nothing that you cannot stick to throughout your life. Then you will be able to sustain it. Fourth question asked by Suresh is what is overtraining and what is undertraining. So I just explained what is overtraining. Overtraining is something that you are doing just for the sake of getting fast results. Okay, so if we are training for our fitness goal, we are not an athlete, or we are not some celebrity that we have to train for 6 to 10 hours in a day, then the training should be within 40 to 45 minutes in a day, and the format should be 80:20. So 80% of that 40 minutes should be aerobic training, and 20% of that 40 minutes should be in an anaerobic zone, where you are raising your heart rate a little higher. You are doing some intense workout only for 5-10 minutes. That is the normal training. If you are doing above it, that is overtraining. If you are doing below it, then that is undertraining. So if you do both ways, over or above, that will not give you the results that you can sustain. So in order to sustain that, yeah, this is the amount of training I can continuously do throughout my life, that will be 40 to 45 minutes, not more than that. Other impact of overtraining and undertraining is that inside it's going to impact your cortisol hormones, that is the stress hormones. Because when you overtrain, when you start training for more than 40 to 45 minutes, maximum 1 hour, then that will increase your cortisol hormones. Your body will get into the stress zone, because you are actually in a way abusing your body, right? So there is no need for that. We're not looking for that. So you actually are abusing your body with so much of training. The cortisol hormones will rise. Once the cortisol hormones will rise, internally only your insulin hormone will also rise, and insulin hormone is a fat storage hormone. So technically, when you overtrain, then your insulin hormone and other hormonal disbalance also happens, and indirectly you will notice that after 3-4 months, or within maybe 2-3 weeks, your stress will go high. Because of that, your body fat will start rising. Okay. Secondly, overtraining is something you cannot sustain. So I will not advise you to get into that, because that may give you some crash results, but you will not be able to sustain those results, and then you will bounce back to zero, even maybe go back to negative again. So you should avoid overtraining. You should avoid undertraining. You should not lead a sedentary lifestyle. So at least 30 minutes of workout in the morning, and maybe you can divide 30 minutes into some quick intense workout of 10-15 minutes or 5 minutes, and rest other like normal walking, jogging, or normal cycling below the heart rate of 120, and rest 5-10 minutes you can achieve as your MHR, that is your maximum heart rate. That will be more than sufficient. That will help you manage your cortisol hormones. Once your cortisol hormones are managed, then the hormonal balancing will be there, and then you will be able to reduce your body fat in a sustainable manner. So your achievement should be in a way that you are not disturbing your hormones, you are not disturbing your hormonal balance, and you are not adopting a situation, not adopting a process that you cannot sustain. You can do it for one week or maximum 2 weeks, but after that, because that is something you are overdoing, then you won't be able to sustain it. Then you'll again bounce back to zero or go back to negative zone. Now the next question was why visceral fat index is on the scale of 1 to 10. So the answer to that was that that is a scale that has been defined for visceral fat. So the scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The scale is not between 1 to 2. It's not 1.5 and all. So that was the answer. What is visceral fat and why is important to keep it low? What is your normal range of visceral fat? That was asked by Mamta. So a very good question, because visceral fat is something that we really need to focus on. So our body has got two basic types of fat. One is visceral fat and one is a subcutaneous fat that is just beneath our skin. Visceral fat is something that surrounds the body organs, liver, stomach and all, right? So that fat is something that can be crucial for your health, that can give you medical issues, so you really need to bring it down. Subcutaneous fat is at times good also for you, because that will help you in the temperature regulation and fighting from the external weather and all. So it's good at times to carry some subcutaneous fat, yeah, but your prime target should be to cut down on the visceral fat, because that is that is something that is coating the main body organs, and if it will be coating on the main body organs, then their function will be impacted. So how to reduce the visceral fat is, first thing, that you really need to focus on leading a stress-free life. Try to understand where you are getting stress from and try to manage your stress. So I will not say that cut off the stress, try to manage the stress in whatever ways through an expert's advice. First thing is try to find out the trigger of the stress, because there is no person in this earth who is not going through some stress. So first thing is that stress management. Second is adopt a structured pattern of workout where you are doing 20% of your workout as your intense training, 2 through 3 days in a week, not more than that. So if you do that kind of workout where you are actually challenging your heart rate, that may or that will actually help you to reduce your visceral fat. Third thing is that focus on 80% of workout as your aerobic training below the zone of 120. That can be brisk walking, that can be jogging if you can jog below 120, that can be stairs climbing where your heart rate, if you can manage below 120, or easy walking or cycling if you can manage your heart rate below 120. That will help you reduce your visceral fat. Okay, so the normal range is between 1 to 12, but I usually advise to keep it below 7 or 6. 7 or 6 is an ideal number. So that is something that you must maintain in order to lead a healthy lifestyle, in order to avoid certain medical issues like fatty liver and other stuffs, right? What is visceral fat index and measure? That was asked by Rennie. So that was something related with the previous two questions. So I already have answered that. So the index is something that will help you understand that where you stand. Okay, so because that is something, these things are something, cardiac health and visceral fat, you and bone density and all that. So you are not able to see that in your mirror, see from your naked eye. So there has to be some index where you can calculate the parameter and see where you fall in that index. So if the range is between 1 to 10 and between 1 to 12, and if you are towards the 12 and 13 range zone, then that means you really need to bring it down. So that is the index. So the index is created so that you can understand where you stand, because that is something you won't be able to see from your naked eye. You might get a flat belly, but maybe your visceral fat is very high. right? You might get a a little bulky belly, but your visceral fat could be in a very normal zone. So this might happen. So you really need to focus on where you stand, and for that you really need to check your parameter and compare it with that index. What is the importance of pre and post workout meal? That was something out of the context asked by Avi, but very valid question, because people do not understand the importance of pre and post workout meal, and they only end up doing blah 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 training. Okay, so their only format is just go out and do your workout and come back. Okay, so this is not how it should happen. What I understand and what I define training is as a 5-step method. One is pre-workout meal, then your warm-up, then your main workout, then your cool down, and then your post-workout meal. So this all together should be done within 1 hour. Okay, so the pre-workout meal that from which we start is important, especially when we are training, when we are doing our workout or activity first thing in the morning, because if we train or do our workout maybe in evening, so we are already are fuel with lunch. If we do it towards the late evening, even then we have some fuel in our body, but first thing in the morning if we are training, then our stomach is usually empty, then that will be lack of energy. So according to me, according to my advice, I always advise to not to train empty stomach. Some people may advise you to train empty stomach. If you are training for 30-40 minutes, you can easily go with empty stomach, no need to have any hydration and all, but that may result into cardiac issues, that may be fatal for you. So for what I understand is, when you are doing the workout first thing in the morning, you should not be doing in lack of energy, because you need energy to do any kind of workout. Even if you are walking, the easiest form of workout, walking, swimming, cycling, jogging, running, sprinting, any form of workout, you really need to bring in some energy, then start a warm-up, and then switch to the workout. Then you will get into an ideal zone. So first you had your pre-workout meal, bring in energy, then you do your warm-up, raise your heart rate a little up, where you can get into the fat burning mode. Then you do your main workout. The main workout should be only 10 to 15 minutes. Then you do a cool down, where you bring down your heart rate, and then you have a post-workout meal. So the pre-workout meal should largely be made up of carbs. You can add some protein also to that. And the post-workout meal should be largely made up with protein. You can add some carbs to that. So it works like that. So pre-workout meal can be dates and maybe a glass of milk if you like, or maybe a glass of coconut water, a glass of lemon water. You can have a banana, you can have an apple, and anything that gives you energy. One orange is also good. So you really need to figure out what works for you to have first thing in the morning. So if I ask you to have an apple, but you are not feeling like having an apple first thing in the morning, but you like having a banana, and you like having an orange, so that means your body is adapted to having that. Your body is happy having it. So just look out for your combination. But yeah, it should not be something that is a salad like cucumber or carrot, because that is fiber. So complex carbs is something that we don't need. So it should be something on the line that I just talked about. And post-workout meal should be largely made up with protein, a little dash of carbs in it. So the ideal will be maybe 2 boiled eggs, or maybe egg sandwich, where you can add cucumber and carrot and tomato to it and make a slice, or maybe you can add cheese or paneer, then cucumber, tomato to it. So there you will get the protein, and then you will get the little carbs also, because you need carbs for the protein to get absorbed in your system. So I hope this is clear, that your pre-workout meal and post-workout meal is important for you, so that you can get energy before you work out, and after the workout you can refuel your body, because you have done a workout, you have burned the calorie, you have you really need to refuel your system. So within 30 minutes post workout meal is important, because ideally it's said that within 30 minutes your body is able to absorb the protein in a better way. So and yeah, you can avoid the dizziness and any after effect symptoms also, because after a workout you may be, because of lack of energy, you may find some symptoms, headache or dizziness and all, right? So this is important to in order to bring in energy and in order to refuel the body after the workout. Very important thing in this is to add on the electrolyte. So what is electrolyte and why is important for us, that I'll add on in some other session, because that is going to be a little longer detail for that. So I will quickly explain what bone density is. Bone density is something that our skeletal system, the weight of the skeletal system and how dense the bone composition is, that is made up of minerals. Okay, so when we are born, then we slowly gradually build up our skeletal system, because you must have noticed that in small kids and toddlers the bones are very low, 0.8 or 0.5, then gradually they start building up the skeletal system, their bone starts getting stronger, so gradually the bone density starts increasing, and once we reach the age of 20, almost the bone density is to the maximum level. But after 25-30 years, what happens is gradually it starts going low. So it's like a curve. So from 0 to it went up and then it went down. So the maximum level was, it all depends on what kind of activity you were in, or what kind of training you had been doing, or what kind of food you had been eating. Was it rich in minerals? Were you doing some strength workouts and all? So if you have done that, then your bone density will be in a good range. But naturally what happens is, after 25-30 years of age, it naturally starts reducing. What we need to do is that we need to maintain the bone density and start making it. So in order to create the bone density, in order to increase the bone density, first thing is to add vitamins and minerals, basically minerals in our food, that will be coming from fruits and vegetables and salads. Very important thing that mostly women do not focus on is to adopt the strength workout. With the strength workout, what happens is, strength workouts, body weight or weight training, what happens is, with the stress of the strength workout, the density of the bone starts increasing. Then what will happen is, in usually people who do not follow that, after gradually what will happen is, they'll start seeing some bone related issues, joint related issues once they start aging. After the age of 35 or 40, this is happening these days, because these days our functional value is not that high. We spend most of the time as sedentary time, like our grandparents, they were doing a lot of functional activities. But these days the lifestyle is very sedentary. So what happens is, at the age of 35-40, people start facing bone or joints related issues, and then once they start marching towards 60-65, there are lot of issues related with the bones and the joints. But if you catch it at the right time, you start doing the correct format of strength training, then what will happen is, your bone density will start increasing. That will add up to your lean body mass again, right? So once your bone density start adding up now, so in future when you look back, you will see that now I am not facing the bone related or joint related issues that I have seen people of this age that they had been facing. So that is the ideal case, where you are taking care of your food with the fruits and vegetables, ample fruits and vegetables, and very important that you are focusing on the strength workouts also. And very important for the women, because girls, they shy away from the strength workout, feeling that it will bulk up their body. No, it will not bulk up your body. It will give you lean muscle mass and it will increase your bone density. And at the same time, it will make you stronger with more confidence to conquer anything in the world, because once you do a strength workout, your confidence level starts increasing because your body strength is increasing, and it is working on your psychological aspects, because lifting weight and doing strength workouts is not an easy task. Okay, so there are n number of aspects of strength workouts. I can continue talking about that, but here we are talking about the bone density. So let's stick to that topic, that with the strength workout our bone density you will start maintaining that, and gradually it will start increasing, that you can measure through some measuring parameters, some weighing scales and all. So that will add on to your lean body mass. Okay, so I guess I have covered most of the questions and the topics here. So the format is that in order to maintain a healthy weight, because most of the people, 99% of the people, they are scale conscious. Okay, my weight should be this much, I should fit in this dress. So if you are scale conscious, there is no harm in that, but you really need to understand what your body composition is. So if you are in that scale, suppose your target is 55 kg and you are fitting in your favorite dress, but there is no use if your body composition is not good, because that will give you n number of other issues, that might give you a number of other issues related with your cardiac health, related with any medical conditions like diabetes or high BP or fatty liver. So you really need to understand that more than the weighing scale, it's important to understand what my body composition is, and there comes in the method of lean body mass, that I said that lean body mass is your whole body weight minus your body fat. So the weight of your muscles and your bones and your body fluid. So we've covered lean body mass, we have covered bone density, body fluid, and we have covered the muscle mass, and we have covered how to reduce and how to sustain the body fat loss, and how to not to get into the overtraining zone, so that it will impact our hormonal balance. So I hope I could make up all the points here. In the next session I am going to talk about the electrolytes and all, so that we can understand what kind of hydration is important for all of us, not only for the athletes, for very idle person, or for a person who is a beginner fitness freak, or any range of people. Why electrolytes are important? So we will talk about that also. So have a good day.
So I hope this was a fruitful presentation. You could learn a little about the cardiac strength. So we'll keep talking about it in future. Let's be fit, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.